Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Tonight, my plan is to go and continue on with sort of where we were working on last time, which is the help output for System Command Line. So, for anyone who didn't watch last week's stream, System Command Line is a library from Microsoft for making command lines much more simple, right? And specifically, the portion here that we're looking at is what happens when you send like a dash dash help, or if you typo a command or something, where you get that nice friendly output of showing you, hey, here's how you actually invoke the CLI. This library has been getting picked up by a whole bunch of different other projects. It's also being included in the .NET CLI for .NET 6. So it's getting very close. They are looking to do a GA release soon, and this help output is one of the final big sort of breaking API changes. So we are taking a crack at seeing what we can do to make that better. Because at the end of the day, right now, the previous help output was a little cumbersome to use. If you liked the default, it was great. If you wanted to customize it, it was challenging at best. So we are going to look at what we can do to make this better. So last time what we were working on is getting all of the tests to pass. And I believe last time I ended, and I think these things were all red. And so I started fixing some of the tests because there was a couple of them. There was a couple easy wins, right? A few simple changes here, tweak that there, and things started working a lot better. So my plan is to just start from the top and work my way down. My Visual Studio, though, has gotten itself into a very interesting situation. You'll note this little itty bitty guy here doesn't reflect the state of my test manager. I don't know how you get into that state, and when I run tests from here, it appears to execute differently than when run over here. It's very weird. Don't understand what's going on. Kind of confused. So, but for now, not going to worry about that. I did pull latest preview. It could be a bug there. It could be a conflict with one of my extensions. I don't know. And I haven't spent a lot of time digging into it. So, but there's something there. So if it seems weird with the way I'm running my tests, it's kind of intentional. So let's dive in and see what we can do. Wow, that let's see. Tools, font sizer, increase environment font size. Why do you not increase with that? It is very frustrating to me when things I want all fonts to respect my sizing choices, and they don't, and I need to figure out why. Okay, but let's dive into this one here. So where is this test? It's this one here. You can see I've been kind of poking at them. Oh, and I already have my output line here. So let's go through and take a look. A lot of these, it's been coming down to one of the key changes that I made was shifting the column padding from 4 spaces to 2, right? Because that lined up a little better, and I've got breakpoints all over the place. This will be fun. Okay, so let's take a look at what's going on. Nope, I want foo, and I want it open. Okay, so this is specifically the argument section. So it's looking at this little area down below. I wish I could make that bigger. That may not work. So let's see. Argument name for command that, and then it wraps around, indents 2 spaces, which it looks like it is long enough to wrap a new. Great. Argument description for a space. This is one that's been biting me a lot, is before it would trim off extra spaces. Now it leaves all white space in place. That is a breaking change with this that I left in. If you go through and put like a tab character in your stuff, this is no longer going to clean it up for you. My opinion is that if you intentionally put a bunch of white space in your descriptions, you should get a bunch of white space. So API will not be helping you. So don't do that. Let's see. Description for a command with line breaks that. So this one here. This is another case where I've been catching things that don't make sense, right? So this is doing a small width of 70. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this large block of text. All right, and I'm going to go grab me a VS Code instance. Come here. We're just going to bring this guy over here. And we'll make that a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bigger, and you just collapse. I don't care about you. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So if I go down here, whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to replace all instances of this with 2 spaces. All instances, 2 spaces. And then I don't think I need any of you. We'll just delete all of those. And then we're just going to know that there's 1, 2 new lines right there. Okay, so we've got that. So something I'm noticing, this guy did a help builder where the width was 70, right? And I haven't mucked with this expectation yet. And one thing that I'm noticing, oh, that is a subtle change. So when this thing had 4 spaces here, it was actually capable of going longer than 70 characters. So it seems like there was some off by 1 errors buried inside of this old code. Not surprising, because it looks like the assertion here didn't catch that this was longer than what the max width was that was being set. So regardless, what we want to do is validate that this thing is as we anticipate. So let's see here. This is just name and description. Let's see, argument section properly wrapped. So this is just long name, long description. Make sure they wrap appropriately, right? And so this guy comes in here. That works for me. This is the expectation. So let's bring that into our VS Code. I just want to confirm before changing the expectations on code. I like to just review them and make sure that they do in fact make sense. So this guy here is at 67. Interesting, because theoretically it should have been able to pick up space is. Yeah, this should have been able to pick up is, because you'll note my current column spacing is 70. Right? I've got space to put 70 characters here, right? Because there's a selection of 70 characters. So given that, I think there's a bug in my code, and this one really should be like this, because this here would be exactly 70. I do wonder if I should make some changes to test console. I wonder how much is going to break if I do that. I'm just tempted to have this guy have some concept of sizing so that it behaves a little bit more like a terminal when the size is set. Internal class stream writer. Because you'll note right now, this thing just blindly writes and appends to a string builder, which is totally fine, right? Like that works. I just wish that it would automatically slap some new lines in there for me at times. Okay. That's neither here nor there for the moment, because right now what we do know is we've got a bug. Why is my Test Explorer window closed while debugging? Oh, it's not closed, it's just floating. You sit there. Wait, why is Solution Explorer? No, Solution Explorer over to here. Right? Diagnostic tools, pin. There we go. I reset. I keep trying to fix my font things by resetting layout, and it is annoying me. Okay, so given that, I think we have a bug in my code, and I want to go into here and figure that out. So this specifically is in, jump back. No, it's in the right. So this is in the arguments section. So if we jump into here, add arguments. So this is where this guy is going all kinds of crazy. So let's see. So add arguments. right? Because that's where this is. Yeah, it's the argument section. Because this is just name and description on the root command's argument. Get arguments, argument descriptor, blah, blah, blah. Write as column, column argument. So we want to pick it up maybe right about here. So let's back up, and we are going to launch in and catch it there. Okay, so step 1, validate we've got the right input data. I suspect we do. Certainly looks like it. 2 really long strings. Okay, let's step in and let's take a look. So console window width is 70. That makes sense. So the first column should be 35 minus 2, which it is. And the reason for the minus 2 is for that 2-space indent that's there. The second column width should be the remaining space, so 70 minus 33, right? Minus 2 of the indents, because in order to get to the second column, you have to indent for the first column, indent for the second column. So that's the 2 minus ones there, so you should also be 33, which it is. Great. Let me just go back here and let's confirm. Where's this guy? So this here, that is 33 selected characters. So there's an issue here when it does the wrapping. So because it's doing another minus here. That is almost assuredly the problem. Okay, so let's just rerun that since we were so close a moment ago. Almost assuredly going to break something, but that one goes green. Okay, so let's rerun the suite of help builder tests. Because my goal will be to get at least these tests working and then start in on the API. Okay, next one on the chopping block. This guy here. So we're going to turn you off. At some point, I'm going to have to start hunting foo instances. String foo gets console out 2 string. I just have been enjoying doing this to compare and then debug. So this one, I suspect, I'm immediately noticing there's a few things here with tab characters. So we're just going to let you go for the moment so we can look at what got generated. Okay, so argument for inner command with some tabs that. So I'm noticing this one has a space on the end, whereas that one drops it. I'm wondering if it's as simple as that space. The fact that this one has the tabs in here means it's something I've looked at before. And just to confirm, tabs that. Yeah, there is a space there. Yeah, because right now when it wraps, it does not do any magical trimming of white space at all. The old code did. And again, I just was not a fan of that. Okay, so this one, we'll clean up that guy while I'm thinking about it. And then let's look at this one. So, Oop, that is not what I wanted. String foo gets, let's see here, console out 2 string. All right, and then we'll just breakpoint on that guy and relaunch. Okay, so let's take a look here. Okay, so this guy is looking for arguments, indent, outer command arg, 1, 2 spaces, argument for the, it looks like there's a tab or similar embedded in this. Yeah, see, the previous one did stuff like that. And I disagree with the embedding. And you'll note, argument section removes extra white space. So here's what I'm going to do with this test. Boom. Because that is no longer a true assumption. See? Problem solved. So much easier when you just delete the test. Command arguments default value provided. Oh, it looks like I was looking at this one previously. I've already got my breakpoint set. Should contain default. Okay, so what do we got going on here? We've got two arguments named the arg and the other arg. They both have default values set, and they're both added to this command. Okay, we're gonna add some white space because let's see. View white space. I typically like to have that on so I can see it. Okay, so this guy here. Okay, so this is looking for default colon the other arg value. So it is interesting to me that the arguments are listed backwards. That seems wrong to me. If you explicitly add your children in this order, I would expect the help to come out in that order. But there is some ordering. Yeah, there is some ordering going on here. Let's see. Sidith, may I ask why it's so difficult to find a normal job where WPF is the main thing? That is a very good question. So this is going to be caked in my own bias, but I think the answer is because thick client apps are slowly getting pushed out. There's a lot of functionality that can be done in web, and so the domain that used to be always a thick client app is somewhat limited. But there's still plenty of things that will some apps just can never be web apps. But I think for the vast majority of like enterprise level stuff, most of what it is just move some data around from point A to point B, which the web does that really, really well. So I'm somewhat fortunate in that one of the projects I work on is primarily a WPF application. There's obviously web components and whatnot as part of it, but it is a WPF one. And just with how much WPF XAML stuff I do, anytime there's a WPF related project, people usually wrote me in. So I am lucky in that regards, but I would say it's difficult because there's far fewer of them, which is unfortunate. But I do have hope that so WinUI 3 is not GA yet, but it is getting so close. My hope is, even though WinUI 3 is basically UWP vNext, it fixes a lot of the things that I didn't like about UWP, and so I'm kind of hoping to take like the material design project and port it into WinUI as well as WPF, because WPF isn't going anywhere. There's too big of a following, too many libraries are built around it. It is here to stay, at least for the foreseeable future. But it would be nice to be able to support WinUI as well. There's also, let me grab a tab. So Project Reunion is also really exciting to me because it starts to bring together a lot of the, this isn't what I want. Where is the yeah, it starts to bring together a whole bunch of desktop-y APIs, because before there was this issue of, you've got a WPF app or you've got a UWP app, and you only get access to these APIs if you're doing one or the other, and that was dumb, right? It's one of those, I want to pick whatever UI framework I feel comfortable in, and I don't want to be limited by it, and that's one of the cool bits of this. So if people are interested. Let's see. I agree about the ordering. I would expect the argument, other than argument, to be default to. Good points about WPF2. Where I'm at, web devs are a dime a dozen, and rarely somebody wants to work on WPF as well. Yeah, I will say that. So because my comment about people always pull me in for WPF projects, like web dev is certainly popular, but because it's popular, everybody does it, right? Like you can't shake a stick in a dev team and not find somebody who's a reasonable full stack web dev type person, right? They're all over the place, which is good, right? You're usually never short when it comes time for it. But it does also mean that as soon as somebody has a WPF app, finding somebody who knows it and does it well is a very valuable thing. Okay, so we want to figure out what the heck I did wrong here. So I did two things wrong at least. One, the ordering of these arguments seems off, and I'm surprised that these tests are in alphabetical order, these tests aren't, so it's hard to say if there's another test that covers the ordering problem. But this one is specifically, I somewhere along the lines dropped default : so let's go hunting for wherever that guy is. So in an effort to be able to not dig through diffs, I just renamed the original class. We're gonna kill it at some point, but but for now we're keeping it. Oh, this method. Oh, I deleted this method, didn't I? That was dumb of me. So let's go and look, because I'm guessing. Let's see. So this guy here was invoked from where? Hello? It's very interesting that I can't get. Something is wrong with my Visual Studio. I may just pull the trigger and reset it back. So get argument help items. That's fine. Okay. This, I think, is where. Yeah, this is where things got, I think, a little lost. So let's go into my new help builder. And I think, ironically, if I just hunt for square brace stuff, I'm going to come up with something a little more akin to what I'm looking for. Actually, let's just do. Is that the only instance? No, there it is. Okay, so get argument description, get argument default value. So this is the thing where I would expect it to fall into this case. I don't see default : here, unless it's added on by this, which it's not, obviously, because that would have made sense. So the fix to get default : probably, let's just clear all bookmarks. I don't know what they're pointed at. Let's just bookmark this line here, because we're probably going to want that later. Probably going to want that. I imagine that rather than just name. Oh, wait, hang on. What does this guy do? Argument default. Oh, I bet you this guy is exactly what I want. Oh, yeah. Okay, perfect. So this guy here, the name, if single argument, will get tacked in to there. Okay, so that's fine. That's kind of what we want. So the question is, why did I not fall into these cases? So you have a single reference that comes into here. Get symbol parts, has a couple references. Let's see, that's on option. That's on subcommands. Okay, so that's why. The two code paths that use that method don't go into there. So I have dropped something. Let's see, one reference. Yeah, and that just goes there. So I probably needed another invocation to get arguments description. And based on this test, it needs to be. Where would I expect this to be? On this output, it would be the argument section. Yeah, so let's go there. So if we go into right, we've got half a dozen things. Add arguments. So this guy comes in here, calls get arguments. This guy calls get arguments description. Isn't that the method we said we wanted? Oh, there is a small but different. There's this one. There's this one. And those are different overloads. One is taking an enumerable, and one is taking only one. Ah. Got it. Okay, so that is probably the bug. When I refactored this, I ended up landing on the wrong one. So wait a minute. Can I, rather than iterating over this thing, can I just call the other one? Get arguments description. I think I can just call the other one. That seems a whole heck of a lot easier. This guy is wanting, so it's wanting the string value tuple only because it's going to render name value pairs, right? So does this one, oh, that's the difference. This one here doesn't give me back, this gives me a single string. Okay, so maybe what we need to do is migrate this code into using this. That would probably make more, well, let's see. So what is this doing? And this is part of why I want to clean up this code, because some of these names are not not obvious or apparent. Some of these I've cleaned up. Some of these I just brought over from the old class, and I'm getting it working first, clean up later. Work first, clean up later. And then make it fast, right? So let's see. So this guy here finds all the arguments that are not hidden and have a default value. And I think this one has a similar thing, right? It's finding all the ones that aren't hidden, gets a descriptor, which I believe roughly boils down to figuring out the name display, which is fine. So there's that. But given the name, it then, let's see, get argument description kicks back an enumerable of strings, which could be this. So this kicks back an enumerable that will include the description if it's present, and then also include a default value thing if present as well. So I think what we do is we do this. And I think what I do, I don't know if this is going to break something else, but I think we just wrap it in the square braces. I think. All right? That seems to be the most reasonable. Let's see. Oh. Got to put the things in the right places. Close the quotes. Because that'll get me there. Help build our tests. So these tests here just say default colon that. And we also haven't seen why the ordering's off on this. So we'll still need to address that. Because this guy here shows, so that'll get us square braces around it, but that's not, square braces around this whole thing is not what we want. We want square braces around just the default value. Okay. But this is just the default. Okay, so this will get me square braces around it. The question is this is calling into here saying is single argument. Is single argument is being passed in indicating false. And I think this is because it's counting the number of arguments here, which is clearly not the case. So let's look at this guy. Let's see. That guy. Let's go back up because this also has a append additional arguments. Back to work now. Good luck. Thanks, Dr. Goodheels. Good luck at work. Have fun. I always try to. Let's see. So, not add subcommands. Come on, add options, add arguments. That's right. This one was a little weird. Get arguments help items. Because this also had the weird hash setty thing. Okay, so this guy called in here, checked the argument, called the descriptor, built it up. That's all fine. So how did you know about the default values? So default value. So if argument's not null, build default value hint. Default value hint was here. And this guy appended it based on, let's see, the second value in this of is single argument. Is single argument defaulted to true? So this thing always, so in this situation, it always just assumes single argument of true. Okay, so that's fine. We can do that. I'm going to leave myself a note here. To do is single argument is a bad name. Appears to be more about default display. Right? So there's something about this name that's clearly confusing me, at least. Okay, so let's run this one more time and see what we get. So I think that'll get us a lot closer, because this will get us the square braces, and then we should be able to check it and see if we get the appropriate default. Okay, so what does our help output look like now? Okay, so that is better-ish. So there. So the arg value, the other arg value. So this test probably passes now, I think. Right? So step over. Okay, so this test unfortunately passes. But I think what I would like to do is, so what is this? Argument default value provided. Yeah, so I'd prefer if, where's a better one to do this from? I'm looking for, yeah, I want to do something more like this. Because I don't like this contains down here, where it's just looking for that. I'd much rather do something akin to this, where I'm being more explicit about what is it, in fact, that I expect. So down here, what I expect is, let's see, I want to see the arg here, right? I want to see couple spaces, which will be the column padding, and we'll adjust this in a minute. And then I expect to see this, right? And then we're going to do new line. So we've done a static include of environment so that we can just do new line like that. Okay, then we're going to do the same type of thing, indentation. And right now, indentation and column padding are equals. They're both set to just 2 spaces, but previously these used to be different, which is why they are separate values. And I'm leaving them there for now, because if somebody pushes back and says, no, put it back, make it 4 spaces, then I want it to be an easy change. Okay, so that goes like that, and then I expect this to be the follow-up, right? So this is what I expect the code to look like. Oh, and then a new line, at least one new line. There's probably 2, but that's not. So should contain, and then let's change this to expected, right? Okay, so now this test should be back to failing. Let's just slap a breakpoint on there and debug. Because this way we can assert on the ordering of the arguments. Because it's not obvious to me that there's another test that's covering this, so I want to make sure we get them both. Okay, so help. Okay, so this is still, so out of order, but roughly akin to what I would expect, right? So arguments, new line, name, right? Both of those values look to be what I would expect. Okay, and now test should fail. Excellent. That is what we want to see. Now let's go into our help builder and figure out why we're getting these things out of order. So let's go back up to here, because it is also interesting to note that this guy is only being invoked in one place now, so there may be some cleanup that needs to be done there. So this is grabbing arguments, so I think I want to pick it up here, because this would be the most logical place. I'm very surprised that arguments here is... So those are in the appropriate spot. Right, so let's go grab it there. Are these in the right order? Oh, those are in the wrong order. Well, of course they're in the wrong order. This thing has a dot reverse on the end of it. Why would that be reversing? That seems wrong. Let's get rid of it. Okay, so that may come back to bite me later, but we're going to, because I'm just working my way top down. So we'll see if this guy goes green. Okay, then we'll rerun this and make sure all the tests above it, and we'll just start. See, hang on, something broke. So let's see here. So this guy, let's take string foo gets console out to string. All right, so let's look at this one, because this guy broke, and I'm wondering if this is why the reverse was there. So what's going on? We've got an inner command and an outer command. The inner one is the one that we've requested help for. So we're starting here and working our way backwards. So let's look at the output. So the one previously was saying that the expectation was outer command first, because outer command arg, then inner command arg. So because it's working its way up, it was doing them out of order. So no, I think this, so I want both of these cases to work. Right? I want the order of arguments within a command to respect it, right? But then I want the, well, hold on. So this argument was added first. So so this guy should populate first. Okay, so let's see if we can fix this without just throwing a dot reverse onto it. Okay, so this guy here, what is he doing? So he's going to reverse through all of the commands and call get arguments on the commands. I think the reverse is correct, but I think it should be here. Right? So this is going to, well, let's confirm this. So I believe this is going to start at inner, return inner first. Right? And then it'll return outer. And I want it to process the commands outer, inner. Right? So that things go first. So to make it process the commands in the order I want, since we're starting at inner, I want to do the reverse of the commands and then call get arguments on each of the commands. Yes, I believe that is what I want. So let's run this one. I think this passes now. If it doesn't, we'll debug it and see what's going on. Okay, so that guy's green. So let's run all of these and see if we can finally get down past. Okay, so that got us past a whole swath of tests. Okay, so the reverse was just on the wrong spot. Okay, that's fine. We're going to come back to that test, because this test is testing pretty much everything. Yeah, this is the approval test. So we're going to fix everything else and then come back to this one. So this will be the one test we don't do right now. Right? So let's skip that one and go down to here. So options section properly wraps description. So let's get rid of that for the moment. And let's see. So what do we got? One, poorly formatted code. So that is bothering me a little bit. So there's that. Let's bring you up. There, that looks a little better. Okay, so we've got a command. The command has a name and a description. The command has an option that has some long bits of text with tabs in them. The fact that I see the tabs already added to the assertion make me suspect that I've somewhat handled this already. But I'm wondering if perhaps, yeah, because what I'm noticing, and I'm realizing my big head is in the way. If we do this, whoop, bring it around. What I'm noticing immediately is the ending bit of the assertions, the wrapping bit. And so I think what I want to do is just debug this. I suspect this is a bad assertion after I tweaked it, but I want to count the number of characters across, because this is once again using the small width of 70 characters. And so I want to see if this is in fact 70 or not. So let's grab this and go back to my VS Code instance. So new test, paste. All right, so we're gonna go nope. Really should make these keystrokes match between Visual Studio and VS Code, so I stop typoing all the time. Okay, so that goes there. Let's see. Ding, ding, ding. Nope. Delete, 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 delete. And then, what? Duplicate, space, space. Let's see. Duplicate, space, space. Okay, so that is the expectation. How wide is that? See, that's 75 characters. That's almost assuredly wrong, right? 2, 3, 4, right? And I think that's 71, but I'm realizing I have that. So that's 70. So it should only go to the 2 and stop. So this is wrong. This much of it should come off. Right? That comes away. It should be something like that, I believe. So we'll clean that, and then let's run it and see if that makes sense. Because I do want to be very careful that I don't accidentally put bad expectations in these tests. Otherwise, there will be pain and suffering later. Mostly my own. Okay, so something is still wrong. I'm noticing there is a small but subtle difference between the A on the second line, at least how it's rendering. The problem being that this is all white space, so that's obnoxious. That is obnoxious. Oh, yeah, so this, clearly I've got these pins here, so that was probably what I was looking at last time I had this open. Okay, so let's take a look. So down buried here, we are looking for the A. So new line, A tab. Oh, because this guy is, yeah, so there's no space. Because this, even though there's a new line here in code, this is just arbitrary wrapping of the string. So there shouldn't be a space there. There should just be a tab character there. Again, my very strong opinion is that if you put white space like that in your descriptions, you deserve to get white space like that in your descriptions. Okay, so that got it closer, but still failed the test. So let's figure out where this thing is wrong. I do have a little helper method I wrote that'll also spew out indexes. The problem is I got to kind of tweak it to get it down to what I want. So that match, or I should say, foo. So the expectation is that there are 2 new lines afterwards, which is true. This is the options section. So options, new line, indent, indent. So 1, 2, A, comma, slash, slash, AA. Column padding, 1, 2, correct. The option tab width. The option tab width. Right, so this should be the option tab width, some tabs that is long enough to space. Oh, there's a space before the new line. Didn't we determine that was bad? So let's see here. 1. That's 71 selected characters. Seems like there's an off by 1 error there. Seems like there's an off by 1 in here where I only expect it to go to here for 70 characters across. And this guy apparently will pass that with 71, which does not seem correct. Yeah, so that test passes now, but I would argue that this expectation is wrong. And it should just be that. So let's go and dive into the options section and see what the heck it's doing wrong. So we're just going to pick it up here. So I'm guessing this is one of those, if there's an off by 1 error, it's going to be landing very, very close. And let's just check inside of here real quick. So the first column's width I expect to be 9. Because there's the 2 spaces here, right? But then the first column should be 9. This column should be 57, I think. Right? So I expect 9 and 57 is the expectation. So let's, yeah, sure, go. So we've got 2 strings. Those both look correct. Step in. Okay, so first column width 9, great. Second column width 57, correct. Okay, so we agree on what they should be. So these are gonna do some work, get some stuff. Okay, so this is generating back a set of value tuples, right? And so zipping these things together. Should probably not be using var here because that is not apparent what the heck those things are. So this guy here is going to be the first one. There's the second one. And so this includes the space. Hold on. Second dot length is 57, which is the wait, but that includes. Wait, something doesn't jive here. Second dot length has a length of 57, which is the expected size. But what we saw here in Visual Studio Code is that this is 57. And this, oh, the space should be there. When I do the selection, the tab is being picked up as 2 characters, when in reality it should be counted as 1. Okay, the space should be there on the test. That is correct. Okay, counting's hard. So the space should be there. that is the appropriate expectation. Okay, so let's run all tests, and then we'll go and see where our next failure is. And just keep chasing the bugs. Just keep chasing, just keep chasing, just keep chasing. It's nice to start seeing more green. When I started, I couldn't even get there. So let's see. That's the approval one that we're skipping. Okay, subcommands. Now we're getting into the other fun ones. Subcommands keep added new lines. So this is a reasonable test. Aside from the indentation here is bothering me. If you put new lines in your description, you get new lines back out. Great. And the only thing that gets a little fancy about this is when you put new lines in here, it still keeps it indented over in this nice little table-y view. Right? So inner new line, right? So inner new line, that makes sense. Command help, that needs a space because there's one there, right? New line, space before the width, space after the width, right? New lines, new line, new line. Okay, we're going to just run this because once again, I think some of these tests I've been fixing just by adjusting the expectations to match the idea that if you put white space in your stuff, you get white space out. Okay, so didn't quite work. Not immediately apparent from that output. So string foo gets, yeah, and I do intend to go through and hunt all instances of foo before I PR this, because I've left them all over the place, and they probably need to be cleaned up. But make it work first. Make it work first, and then that extra white space. Did I add that? Was that sitting there before? Okay, so let's see. So foo here looks right because we are looking at subcommands. And this guy doesn't have any fancy tab characters, just new lines. So we're going to copy this beast, come over here to our VS Code, paste that in, right? So that's the actual. Yeah, foo is our actual, and then we're going to look at expected. We're just going to grab that, copy, and let's do a little introspection here. So inner args, inner, right? Command help, space on the end, space on the end, with space before, space on the end, new lines. So that looks correct. Oops. Okay, so you don't contain is what you're saying. Okay, so where are you different? So commands, new line, indent, inner args. Okay. Command help. Sorry, I'm just going through this with a fine-tooth comb to see if I spot it here. Oh, inner. There are two spaces. Are there two spaces there? 1, 2. Yes, there are. Okay, so that lines up. New line, space, space after the help, space before and after the width. Is this going to let me keep going across? It will. So lots of white space there. Space after the width. More indentation. New lines. Oh, this thing has an expectation of 2 closing new lines. This thing only has 1. Okay, so that's an easy fix. That is something I have fixed on some of the other ones as well. So if we go up to the top, we should probably, let's clear bookmarks again. Let's just leave ourselves a bookmark here as well. So add subcommands. Hey, navigate. This thing needs a console out write line, right? So append one blank line between subcommands. Okay, so now that should pass. Huzzah! Okay, keep going. We'll clean up the foo while I'm thinking about it. Get rid of the breakpoint. Okay, subcommand properly wraps description. And I can almost guarantee right out the gate these tabs are probably wrong in the expectation. And it's bothering me that this thing is not properly indented. So we're going to clean that up while we're in here. Okay, so collapse you for the moment. So inner command, let's see, long subcommand. So what did this get applied to? I think I want to change this to be not text, description, because that's more accurately what it is. So let's see, and then this is going to be \t subcommand with some tabs that is long enough to wrap. That is long enough to wrap to a tab new line, right? And so then let's this guy here. Let's run this guy, and we will see where this thing ends up going, and then we'll just check the expectation. Okay, so this is probably going to be another situation where, due to the changing of the size to 2 spaces, that this thing will be off, I would imagine. But before we change the expectation, let's make darn sure we get it right. And remember that I need to account for the fact that the tab is going to be counted as 2 but rendered as 1. Right, so this is how it got rendered. Let's see here. So do I care about rendered? I don't care as much about rendered. I actually want to just make sure this expectation is right. So let's just do that, because that's all I really want to do, is verify what the expectation should be. Okay, so let's make sure we get this right. Clean that up. And let's see here. Clean you up. Oh, actually, we want to... No. We want to do multi-cursor here, so Control-D, Control-D, Control-D. Delete. Clear the multi-cursors. Clean that up. Once again, Control-D. Clean that up. Actually, 1, 2. Let's see, multi-cursor 1, 2. And then off the end of the line. Off the end of the line. Okay, so how many is this? Understanding that we actually are targeting 71. So this is fine. Right? We're only at 65. Well, I guess the question is what is the width that we set? 70. Okay, so we actually expect is to come up. Right? So is moves up. Ding ding ding. Put a space on the end. And that gets us to 69. We can technically go to 71 because this \t is 2 characters. But 2 characters would bring us up there, and long wouldn't be enough. So we expect is space to be the end of the first line. So let's go up here, change this to be is space, and we'll drop the is off the end of here. And that should be how we expect that to get rendered. So run it now and see. Boom! Worked like charm. Here we go. Okay, so let's check this one. Let's see. Subcommand remove extra white space. This test is easy. We delete it because that should be failing. we don't trust it anymore. Next. Subs command properly wraps. So this is a couple really long descriptions and just for wrapping purposes. So let's once again change up the expectation. So we're going to just do that so I don't have to add the indentation everywhere. Okay. Sorry, I may end up having to cut this off a little early. My wife is requesting that I run to the grocery store. She's got a recipe she needs to have made by morning, and apparently we are out of milk. So we will go and address that problem in a little bit. 1, 2. Conveniently, where I live, there are 24-hour grocery stores, which is wonderful at times for stuff like this. So we will clean this up, clean this up. Okay, so no special characters, and I believe our width that we're working with is 70 again. Excellent. Okay, so where is the expectation? This is 65 characters. Can we pick up really long? We cannot pick up an extra one here, but I do believe we expect to pick up the space. Yes, so the space should get picked up there. And then, let's see, this guy here gives me 63. Can I pick that up? I might be able to. Exactly 70. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. So that should wrap like that. I think that wraps like that. Boy, it probably should wrap like that, but I don't know if it's going to. We're going to do it that way and see what happens. Okay, so is space. We're going to bring caused up. I think it counts the space as part of the length of the line, and so it won't. I don't know if it's going to handle doing that. So probably another case where it's an off by 1 error. Because we're inserting a new line, it really should allow for not just appending the space. I think it treats the space as part of the previous word. Yeah, because you'll note down here it wrapped caused all the way down. And but it doesn't need to, right? That's what we just saw. Is if we've got 70 characters worth of width to play with, that's 70 right to there. But I'm willing to bet it's treating the space as part of that last word and thinks it's 71. And we probably just need a fancy little if condition to handle it. Because I'm guessing most of the other tests didn't land perfectly on the boundary. So this is a perfect test. Let's see, what thing were we doing here? This was subcommands. So let's jump to our breakpoint, subcommands, or breakpoint, bookmark, right? And we come into render as columns. And this is almost assuredly exactly where we're at. So we'll come in here, and I'm willing to bet this wrap items is where the problem lies, right? So we're going to come into here. This guy here, boom, boom, boom. Wrap items. So this is the big long line there. That's the name. Wrap items. This one here. Yeah. So this guy comes in here. The length is not less. So it goes to pick out what it can fit, right? So the length is 84. It only has 33 to work with, so it has to come in here. Goes hunting for white space characters. Yeah, so this is going to jump it to 31, which is fine, right? I kind of want to keep picking this up. Yeah, do your thing all the way through. Do some padding, do some offsets, write the line. Oh, didn't mean to jump into that. Keep going, keep going. Let's see. This is item 1. This is item 2. Yeah, the description. So I should now be 31. It goes hunting. right? So it's gonna keep walking, and length here is 29. Interesting. So 31 to 29. So hang on, why did we stop? I think we want to back up and go and rerun that loop, because I think this loop's termination condition is what's wrong. But let's just confirm that this is the one that we want. So long that right? So it cut off early before it picked up the last one. So let's back up. Set next statement. Right? Because we haven't modified I yet, so we should be able to do this. So which part.length or J... So I kind of want to run to here and then look at... Oh, but I've lost J at that point. I don't know how long it went. So back up again. Set next statement. Might just have to walk through this. I assume I'm hitting the max width, not this. Oh, I can't be hitting this because this is going to 84 and this thing's stopping. I think what we want is that. Right? So let's back up to here. And if we do the equals, it comes up with 29 again, which is exactly what we ran before. So hold on. If we start at... So what is I here? I is 31. So immediate window. String foo gets part substring 31, right? Invalid expression term string. Okay, so if we do that, if I look at... Oh, I can't range in here. Dang it. Because I was curious to look at... Because max width is 33. So let's come back over here. If we put this guy in here, right, we're expecting to get to this string here. So what is that? That is 36. Why did we think that 36 was legit? Right? Because this guy here, that's 35 characters. Why did I think that? Because that's 70. But we don't get 70, we get 35. That's too long. Sorry, I'm losing track of myself. So this is 70 total. So this should be 35. And this should be 35. That's 33. That's 31. So something is not jiving here. Okay, so when building out these tables, we split the data into two columns. The columns have a maximum size of half the window width, less the 2-space prefix, right? So on a 70 width, which is what we have here, each column gets 35, less 2 for the gutters, 33. And I'm wondering if, can we go up a little bit? 33, 33. So each of the columns, so these things ended up using the half window width as what they were going to get. So the fact that this wrapped at 35 is expected. This is not going to so it seems like the issue is probably that the first column should have given up 2 spaces that could have been consumed by this one. So the fact that the first column width is 33 is probably wrong, because the first column width only needs to be 31 here. So that's the mistake. Something here is off. Okay, so let's continue. So this guy picked up a 33 and he should be a 31. So let's he is a 33. He is a 33. Oh, apparently I don't need to go to the grocery store. Okay, so he is a 33 because the length of the name wraps. So this guy here that's the problem. Okay. I'm willing to bet this code is fine. Let's go back and undo that equals that we added. Let's go back to the test and review. So this guy here, I think, has a problem in the assertion on this. So this should go up to 33 characters, not 31. So this should actually be, let's see, E-N-O-U. Right? So O and U come off. This should be 35, which it is. Okay, so 35 selected characters. Perfect. So that means you get pushed over, right? And so now at this point, this is way too long, right? So this pushes this guy down, right? So this expectation is now less than 70 characters, right? So that there. This guy here is less than 70. So that's the problem. The name, because the name needs to wrap 2, it's going to take up all 35 characters of first column that it gets. Okay, so we need to move OU up to here. Let's see, OU should drop off of here. This should gain some additional padding and spacing. This should gain some padding and spacing. This cause drops off and goes back down to the next line. Okay, and that should work. Okay, perfect. Let's just rerun all tests to see if we broke anything else. I don't think we should have, since we were just mucking with assertions. Let's see. Approval test. Okay. Usage section does not contain hidden argument. I agree. So let's see. This guy should be, let's see, 2 arguments. One is hidden, one is not. And the expectation is this is interesting. Given the name of this test, the fact that this is a should contains feels like a bad test. Let's break this. I don't mind the should, but I feel like I should have a not contains in here too. right? So this should be both. Help should not contain, right? So I don't expect something like hidden, right? That should not be, this should not be included in there. So let's run this. Let's see. Okay, so still fails obviously, but let's take a look at the usage and see what is going on. Okay, so go ahead and step over that. And okay, so the expectation was usage, command name, space, visible arg name, new line, new line. Oh, there's only one new line. So that's easy. Jump to cursor, and this is probably here. Let's see, add usage. There's probably needs to be something more here, but this is console out right line. All right, so that goes there. And that should fix that test. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see. So, let's see. Clean this up a little bit. Use discard. That sounds great. Usage section for subcommand shows argument for subcommand and parent command. Okay, that makes good sense to me. String foo gets console out toString. And then let's take a look at why we are failing. Because I think this makes sense. Outer command, outer O. I bet you, I don't know if I implemented this bit. Maybe I did. I don't recall. So let's look. Well, it's there. So let's see. We have usage, colon, new line. Great. Indentation, outer args, dot, 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 space, inner, space. Oh, it doesn't have, it put options after it rather than before it. I somewhat question if that matters. My personal preference when invoking CLIs is actually to do arguments first and then options, right? So for people unfamiliar with the terminology, you can think of arguments as unnamed options and options as things that are named. So the, you know, the hyphen V portion, right? Things that would have a name like this, whereas an argument wouldn't. It just accepts a value. So let's go and look at this, because that's, I mean, that's something we should probably address. It's almost assuredly in here. So this is where this gets added, but this guy is coming after the commands and the format argument usages. So let's go and look. I have a hunch I know what the issue is here, and I think this is a case where I want to change the expectation. Right? So this goes here and does this stuff. Yeah, because it does this weird commands bit, then this bit, then the options bit, tack it in, and then goes through and does this formatty bit. Ick. I kind of like the idea of putting the options at the end anyway, because when it's doing the binding on this, let me rephrase. When you use System.CommandLine to parse an invocation like this, it can find options bubbling up through the commands, and having it here, I don't like this expectation. And given that that is not the way the implementation's working, I'm really inclined to do this. And right now, we have free reign to break this API as much as we want. But once GA happens, that's going to become a lot harder to break. So we're going to put it in here, and we'll get feedback on the PR. We'll see what people think. Okay, so let's run this guy and see what happens. So usage section keeps added new lines. Okay, I can agree with that sentiment. So let's do string foo gets console out to string. And we will do this. The rate we're going, we may only get through fixing these tests, but there's only 4. I'd really like to clean this up and start looking at APIs to make this better. 4 hours of work on this so far. Okay, so the output for it looks like this. So let's examine how that compares. So usage colon new line space space outer command space outer args. There is a space on the end of that, which I believe is correct given that this thing has a space before the new line. So that's expected. The new line would drop it. You would hit another new line character. That would drop it. It would indent. It would hit the width, new lines. It would hit a new line character, drop again. Right? And then it would write out lines, close it, dot, 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 close square brace, command. Because this was outer command that was fed to help, not inner. And so this puts that in there. I do wonder if this should be commands. No, I guess you can only pick one. Okay, so let's see if that one space made all the difference. Or if we have to debug further. Oh, we got to debug further. Okay, so let's see. Where else would this have gone? Potentially off the rails. Okay, so open this guy up. So let's see. Outer command. There, outer args. There is a space. Oh, this guy here should have indentation in front of the new line. So this guy here is expected to be there. Right, so let's go back and keep looking. So there's that. There's an indentation there in front of with new lines. With new, no new line, or no space afterwards, just a new line character. Indentation before lines, less than, dot, 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 square brace, command, 2 new line characters, ding and ding. Okay, so let's back this guy up here, set next statement. Step, 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 and we pass now. Huzzah. Boom. Okay, let's come over here. Usage section properly wraps description. That sounds noble. Let's see. Root command is a discard, so I'm guessing we must be passing outer. Okay, so this is just because even though this is a discard, it's important to note that when you add a command to another command, there's a parent-child relationship that gets set up there. So even though you feed outer command to it, you still get things like this. Okay, so usage text. Hoi vey. Hoi vey. Yeah, no, we're not doing this. Yeah, no, we're not doing this. Okay, so generally in unit tests, you don't want loops or conditions, right? We want expectations. Fixed, hard expectations. Because Yeah, that ain't gonna fly. Okay, so let's just abandon all of this. Right? So we're gonna do, yeah, so all of that goes away. Okay, so usage text, blah blah blah. We're gonna come down here, string. So well, let's look and see what we expect to see. So I expect to see usage, new line. I expect to see. Let's see, what is the width here? 70. So I expect to see the commands bubbling up from outer. So I expect to see executable name, outer command. Actually, something really sort of akin to this. Right? So I expect to see something that starts a lot like this, but then ends up getting wrapped. Because the whole point of this test is to wrap long stuff. So this guy here is almost assuredly too long. So let's drop this guy into code and figure out where he should wrap. Let's see. Come here. You. Paste. Okay, so clean you up. That goes away. Let's see. I believe this is test host. Not 100% confident. And then all of you go away. So I may get this off by a character or two, but we will see. So that's 84 selected characters, so that's too long. So back in a little bit, something like that. 62 would be fine. 64 would be fine. 65. Well, so hold on. This guy here is supposed to be space. So I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere in this order. That's 76. What happens if we do it here? That's 65. So I'm going to propose that it should look a bit like that. So up through the new space is where I would expect. So we're going to do a new line there. We're going to close that, drop it down, do that, throw the $sign in front of it there. And then let's actually do the double new line to make sure we pick up the end of it, because that's actually what's in it. Okay, now we run the test. This is a much easier expectation, right? You should be able to reason, like, if you can't look down at your unit test and reason about what the expectation is, there's a big problem. Okay, let's see. Expected this to wrap. Oh, so the title name is wrong. It's System.CommandLine. Okay. So it's not test host here. It is System.CommandLine, which probably changes this expectation. So if we do that, that's 67, and I imagine that is too many. So yeah, so I expect it to just go to the wrap then, right? And look like that. So wrap space is where that should kick off. And then this guy would come down to here and look like that. Okay. Run test. Oh, so close, so close. Let's see. So, sorry, just trying to spot check this and see where this might have gone wrong. Oh, this guy doesn't have the, so this guy's lacking the indentation. Let's see, indentation. And this guy's also lacking indentation. Let's try that. It looks pretty darn close. There we go. Okay, next one. Usage section contains extra white space. This test is easy. We delete it. Okay. Usage section shows arguments. So let's see. What are you testing? This guy here. Oh, yes. And I was apparently looking at this one before as well. Okay. So let's take a look at. So it's specifically asserting on usage, new line, indentation, executable name, which is system command line. Oh, I should probably have done that on my last test. Let me hunt. System.command line. That string. Oh, did I? Huh. For some reason, I thought I used it in there. Okay. Maybe not. Maybe not. I must have used underscore executable name. Okay. So here, let's see. So this guy here was expected to contain it. Oh, this is probably part of it, right? We moved options to the end because, frankly, I think that makes more sense. arg1. Yeah, so this one had it before. Let's just run this now because that might have cleaned it up there. Green. Oh, look at that. Okay, given all of that, let's run this. Though there's a, yeah. I was gonna say if it passes everything, I'm gonna be shocked, but there is probably some expectations that need to be addressed here. Okay, so let's consider what those expectations are. So this big approval test has one big block against. So this approvals verify. If we look at this guy here, this guy goes through and will hunt out text files that match by name. So if we come over here in our Solution Explorer and we go, whoop, you can see that it hunts underneath approvals, and there is this guy, right? So this is the expected, this is the actual, right? And we can start putting these guys side by side and comparing them. So we'll do expected on the left, actual on the right. So a few things that are obviously going to need to change. So for example, the options bit is definitely wrong. So we are going to take you, right? Put you on the end, right? And then there is the matter of the multiple spaces here. So after this guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this guy should be 1, 2, right? Which should match this, 1, 2. Great. Okay. I think most of these other ones are probably similar, except for these guys here, which you'll note lots of space, lots of space. Why did this thing put so much space there? I disagree on this being correct because I would have expected it to push those tighter together. Let's rerun the test. We should see it at least change because you'll note it shows you the position. Let's see. Oh, the root command : So yeah, so we also I dropped the colon because it doesn't make sense in that case, and it wasn't on things like the .NET CLI. Okay, so this should have moved it. 786. Yeah, and so you'll note there's a spacing thing going on now. And this is interesting to me because I would not expect this many spaces. All right, there's something very much wrong with that. And I'm surprised it's showing up with 4 here instead of 2. I would have expected only 2. So which section is this? This is the options section. So let's go and look at that. Let's see. Did I close all of them? Or actually, we've got a bookmark there. Whoop. Boom. So add options. I assume this is going to be coming into here. And I'm wondering if this is just a case of wasn't specified, therefore it's infinite. But we're going to find out. Because this guy should have a whole mess of options. Okay, close. Okay, so let's look. So whole mess of options. Yep, got a ton. There's some really long ones. Great. Okay, step in. Get console width. What is the width? 200. Okay. I am curious about the received ones. How far away? What's the longest one here? Where's the selection numbers? Put it in VS Code. So 178. So it does technically fit. But I would have expected more left justifying stuff. Okay, so let's see. So the first column then gets what width? 98. So we've got 200 to play with. And it picked up. Why would it pick 98? Are any of you even remotely close to that long? We're going to just do this. Copy. Paste. So how about, really want to turn on white space. Render white space. Hello. There we go. Okay, so this guy's the longest. And he is 91. So the fact that it picked up that much is not overly shocking. But why did it pick 98? Right? Window width is 200 divided by 2 minus 2. Why? Let's look here. That shows 99. Interesting. Why are we seeing the items have a length of 99 when that is not what I saw? Oh, this guy here. How long are you? Is this a case of wrapping and I just don't realize it? Because that is certainly 99, but then why did it not? So this one definitely has that in. Right? So that is there. See, Did you update? Received. So let's take a look at this, because I'm noticing there does appear to be some wrapping occurring. Ah, so this one ended up wrapping it because it's too. So this is interesting. So this one ended up wrapping, and because it ended up wrapping, the amount of space available was increased. So the biggest question is, what is the expectation here? I almost wish the expectation was that. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, though. Might be nice. Circle back to it. So the better question, though, is when you have this thing wrapping or going to wrap, right? Should it recalculate? Because that's what's happening is inside of Help Builder, it first did this calculation, but this math min landed here, right? And so it calculated out how much space it was going to need. Said, nope, one of the guys is too long, so we're gonna ask for everything, right? But this ask for everything is based under the assumption of what this thing will wrap to. So I almost want to change how this works just a little bit, right? And say if I almost want this to be an any, right? If any of these things are longer than the half window that we're given. If any of our items' names are longer than the half window given, recalculate first column width based upon the wrapped size, right? Because that's ultimately what I'm looking for. So let's change this. That's why we have tests. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that there for a moment because I haven't committed in a while and I don't really want to lose that. So let's see. So we're gonna grab this. And we're going to go if first column width is greater, and that technically we could do an any or whatnot, but we're gonna start here just to prove a concept. Make it fast later. Okay, so if first column width is greater than this, right? Meaning we're going to do some wrapping. What we should do then is we should do this wrapping, right? And we should, let's see, because this is going to want to grab all of the items, right? So we should do, how about items select X first, right? How about select many, right? Because that's going to return an enumerable. X dot length, and then I want the max wrapped size. Okay, so what are you complaining about? You return an enumerable of strings. No, I want to flatten this. So what am I gotta think through this. Okay, so we take in a list of items. The items we take a given item, so a line in the approval, right? So each of one of these things are going to be one of the names. We feed that into wrap items, which gives us back a IEnumerable, because with each element of the enumerable being a line that needs to be written, wrapping according to the maximum length. We do want to take, so this returns an IEnumerable, and I want to do a select many on it, right? I want the result of this to be, why are you having trouble figuring this out? Oh, because this isn't the select many. This should be the select many. Right? And this should be int wrapped width. Right? Okay, so that jives a little better. We'll just make it one long line for the moment. Okay, if this is wrapped width, and what we know is that this has to be let's see, let's do this. Let's give this a name. Int first column max width. All right, so this should be here. So if you are greater than max, first column max width, right, we're going to then put you into here, right, and then first column width gets, well, I guess we can just assign here. It's not saving us anything to create a new int. All right, so this guy here gets put into there, and then now that we've wrapped it, that other guy has space to work with, and everything should shift over. Okay, so let's do a run on that and see what happens. So it should fail again because the expectation is not there. But what I'm interested in seeing is the received value now. Yeah, so this looks more like what we would expect, right? This guy got wrapped, everything else got shifted over. Right? Okay, so this guy we expect wrapping. Right? Because, and then we expect an empty line. We expect this guy here actually then lands over with his friends up here. And then we expect that all of these guys go and line up nudos, right? That these guys all line up off of here, 1, 2, right? And so those go straight across. It should be the expectation, right? And that goes through there. Okay. So let's rerun that approval test and see what happens. Fails at position. Okay, so Tronda probably messed something up in here or here. So let's see. So this is what got received. So the approved one has extra white space there. That's not correct. And that might be the difference. So let's try that. Just trying to look at what was put in there, and that thing succeeds. Okay, so let's rerun our tests and make sure that we don't have any further fallout from that last change. Okay, so all of the help builder tests pass, which means I should be able to rerun the whole gauntlet of tests and start and actually get this guy cleaned up. That is wonderful. So a little bit of work to get this guy going, but once working, muchos better. Muchos better code. There's probably more cleanup that can happen in there, but I think the key change that needs to happen, only a handful of failures. Show me what failed. Let's see. Help builder tests. That's not good. Command line tests. Shows help text based on blah. Okay. So what did I do? Usage section properly wraps description. Let's get this guy addressed. I think the key thing that I want to do is separate out the layout of these things and how this column works from the content, right? Because there's two cases that I've seen where people really want to customize help. One is they want to change the layout, and one is they want to customize the content and customize the content beyond just the basic, I want to set a name or a description, right? Let's see. So what is going on here? I imagine this has to do with the wrapping bit. And so let's see here. Oh, so this thing was able to wrap further. This is surprising to me. Why would this thing have changed there? Just going to rerun this one by itself. Make sure it does in fact fail. Okay, so it does. I mean, I can see why it's failing. The wrap is at the wrong point. But I want to confirm that what it's actually doing is, well, here, let's just do this. All right, go back into VS Code. What is the width we're playing with? It's 70 again. Okay, let's come back into here, paste this. Let's see here. So, okay, so we're gonna change this guy, space. This becomes test host, right? I believe is what we saw in the description. Yep. This guy just becomes deletions there, delete there, delete there, delete there, delete there. And then that guy looks like that. That guy looks like that. So this guy here claims to be able to pick up a lot more, and I agree. That only shows 58. So where do we expect it to wrap? Let's grab you. Put you up. That's 67. I would expect it to look a little more like that. So let's bring this much up to the other line. And put it here. Then that test should pass. Okay. Shows help based upon XML comments. Let's come back to that. It synchronously shows help text based on XML documentation. Awesome. So this guy is making some sweeping bits. Okay, so let's see here. It's expecting args, these are arguments. Well, let's just debug this and see. Because it's probably getting something. Question is, what is the something it's getting? Don't need you anymore. Continue. Okay, so what is the output that we got? So we got something like that. First one it's asserting is args, these are arguments. And I think the obvious change here is that one is going to fail because it wants 4 spaces and we went down to 2. Okay, so that should step over. That steps over, that steps over. Okay, so it's just the multi-space deal. It's likely the only thing that's breaking these. Okay, so that one goes away. I think this one goes away, and then we are test pass. Yes. Okay, rerun the whole suite of tests, and then we immediately commit. Cool. Run all tests. I want to see everything run. Boom, boom, boom. Do, do, do. That is awesome. Okay, 2,000 tests. They're all green. So we commit this, and that is not where I want to be. I want to be back here. And we want to do this. So we want to, let's see, fixing all tests. Okay, and then we can push that real quick. And I think what we're going to do is I'm going to pull up and rebase just to get up onto latest. It shouldn't make a difference, but we're going to run all the tests again just to make sure that that rebase didn't break anything. I don't think so. I believe all those merges were stuff completely unrelated to help outputting. But you never know. That's why we have our tests. If they're going to break, I'd like to know now. And then we can look at starting to make this a little bit better. And there we go. Okay, so that's fine there. So we'll force push that guy up. Okay, so that gets Help Builder a little bit nicer. And now I think now that we have that going and all the tests passing, I would like to go through and delete some stuff. I would like to start with Help Builder old and all of its related things. So default help text. So all of these should be able to go away because those should have been converted to localized resources. See stream from last week. So those should all be done. Help Builder old should go away. These should be the only remaining classes. Okay, so let's make sure that all of those build. I saw a couple build errors. That's terrifying. Oh, so one of my tests was running on the old one. That's not good. This is why we have column gutter, indentation width. So window margin is now not being used. These ones aren't being used. Just rerun the tests again. Make sure that that was the only break that was there. So hopefully we don't discover that that test was only passing because it was using the original code. And while we're in here, I'm just going to hunt foo instances and clean those up because we shouldn't need any of those. Clear the breakpoints as we go. Beautiful part of naming it foo is they just automatically show up for me. Get the extra white space while we're in there. Okay, cool. So we clean that up. All the tests pass. So now we're going to go in here, one more commit, removal of old dead code. Okay, perfect. That gets me to a cleaner help builder. Okay, I don't think I'm going to get much further tonight, but I would like to go through and just kind of, so if anybody's interested in my branch or running with this, I would not mind seeing somebody else have fun with it. But let's, so fix 1174. So where's view on GitHub? Is there not a view on GitHub? Do I just do it? Is this the only one that has it? Well, I'd really love it if that would show up there too. So if anybody's interested, the branch in question for this is here. But what I would expect to find or expect to do next is look at several of the issues around some of the help output stuff, right? And then I wanted to look at how I would expect them to be done with, now that I've got a cleaner API, I want to look at, so if we go with help, right? Actually, let's just jump into the milestone because I'm, let's see, help. So for example, this one here, right? Of taking a stab at addressing what this should be and figuring out how this should be handled. Right? So default toString used in help is annoying for many types, right? And so this comes down to the idea of figuring out how this should actually be done. And there's a lot of discussion back and forth, and a lot of these boil down to how you handle lists, right? But I want to make sure that I try and go through and address each of these. Let's see, help wanted, Boolean arguments, missing name on help page, right? So this guy here, and this comes down to this kind of thing, right? And yeah, and so Adam had commented that this thing here, yeah, the document doesn't call them out as positional because all arguments are positional. So yeah, so there's, yeah, so there comes down to this idea of wanting to understand how this works. And it looks like, I'm surprised here, I don't know if this is still the behavior of it. Because a command given 2 arguments, where the arguments are named, the fact that the bool one doesn't do it, but that could just be a gap in testing. So these are the ones that I wanted to look at and figure out what makes sense and what doesn't. So specifically, when using this help builder, you can either just have because there's a convenience method that gets invoked called use help, right? And all this thing does is take the command line builder and just dump in the help option, which is great. That's kind of what you would want. The other option that's available is you can go through, specify your own help option or your own help builder, right? But then you have taken over redoing the entire help builder itself, because the help builder interface is simple, right? It's a simple, you get a command, you write out all the help for it. The problem being is it feels like there needs to be a better middle ground, and that's why I want to get this thing a little bit closer to the point where somebody could either derive from this, override the relevant needed stuff. So you'll note all of these public things I started to make virtual, and I'm trying to figure out where it makes sense to let other things be virtual as well, right? Like it feels like there should be something else going on here to make that work nicely. So that is what my thinking currently is, for what little that's worth. Yeah. And so then going from there. So there's definitely some more work, but I want to find a nice happy middle ground, and I think potentially I might even go as far as to do a derived class of this help builder that's designed for more customization. I haven't decided. Something needs to happen to support some of these other cases. Like, for example, this that argument, and I assume it's buried in one of these things because I thought I saw the type of bool in here. Yeah, so this line here, argument descriptor, this is almost assuredly what's breaking the Boolean one, right? Which makes sense, but then the question is, what should this be, right? Should this become a virtual method that somebody could override so that they could change that behavior? Should this thing be dropped altogether? And that is the debate of what this needs to do. And so there's enough in here that I want to try and customize this out, and separate out the concept of changing the help content from changing the content of the help items from changing the layout of the help, right? Because it seems like most people want kind of one or the other in isolated bits, right? And for example, this guy here, you could override right if you wanted, right? Or you could override each of these things individually. And most of these things are fairly simple. So if you wanted to drop a section, you could. And so it seems like there needs to be a middle ground. Maybe this ends up being the derived class, and there's a more simplistic base help builder that people can build on. So all thoughts floating in the head. Don't know how many of them are worth keeping or how many of them should just be thrown away. But with that, I am going to sign off. Tell everyone happy coding. Oh, one more thing before I leave. I did something cool last week, and I wanted to show it, and I almost forgot about it. So a long time ago, I did a stream about some fancy like logic apps that I built out for generating subtitles. So for my YouTube videos, I like taking the subtitle track from YouTube and generating markdown that looks like this, right? So I can go through, and then more importantly, these things hyperlink back to the YouTube video at that particular point in time, which is great. That's exactly what you want. And more importantly, it gives me a way of just coming into a repo and just searching for stuff. So it's like, hey, I know I talked about that on one of my streams. Which stream did I talk about that on? This now lets me do it. More importantly, this thing, so you'll note previously it was being done by DevOps, and I was like, it'd be really cool to convert this over to GitHub Actions. So, I've gone to the effort of when the Twitch stream finishes, these GitHub Actions will automatically kick off, right? And you'll note that the import videos goes and runs. And then at some point in time, generate subtitles will kick off as well. And I'll leave it up as an exercise to the reader to go and investigate these GitHub Actions if you're interested in. But import videos downloads my thing from, or the video from Twitch, trims it down because I have a bunch of silence at the beginning with the stream starting soon stuff. So trims it down, pushes it up to YouTube as a private video, so that I can edit any extra metadata that needs to be there before it gets scheduled to go public. But then generate subtitles will go through and generate those markdown files for me as well. So if people are interested in it, or if somebody wants to just go and search my videos, you can do so here. And I find that to be incredibly handy, at least especially if I'm looking for stuff. So if you're interested in, it has been converted from DevOps into GitHub Actions which are just awesome, just awesome. And so, as you can see, there was lots of failures. There was the standard building out pipeline-y stuff of it just breaking repeatedly. Um, but it now does run on a nightly basis for me and will generate all the things. So with any luck, this stream will hopefully be the first one that goes all the way through without me having to go and touch it. I thought last week's was going to do it, and there was a few small bugs I ran into. I think I've addressed everything. I think it should be fine. It's just was my test data contaminated in any way? So we shall see. Okay, with that, I will now go and sign off. So tell everyone happy coding. We'll see everyone next week. Talk to you then.